Excel automatically adjusts some column widths and row heights, but sometimes there's a need to make some adjustments yourself. There are commands for these changes, but it's generally easier to use the mouse to drag or double click to quickly make adjustments to column widths and row heights. This worksheet has data for 6 months, a total and an average. The total column is wider because the numbers are larger. However, you may want to adjust the other columns to be the same. So you can select the individual columns and adjust the width by dragging the right edge right wide or narrow, however you need it. Now, if you make it too narrow, pound signs will appear, which means you'll have to make it wider. Now, instead of manually dragging the column left, you can double click the right hand border, and this is called the best fit. Each of these monthly entries would probably look better if they were wider entries, so we'll drag across columns B through to G. When you hover the mouse over one of the column boundaries and hold down the left mouse button, you see a width. You can drag it wider and make them 70 pixels wide rather than the 64 pixels. To make them all the same width, highlight them all and drag them to the number of pixels you want them to be. So all of them will be the same. Usually, as you add new data, it automatically adjusts itself. There's some more information at the bottom. It could be a longer number or it could be text. If we put in text, say telecommunications, the column does not become wider. If we double click column B, it automatically adjusts B as wide as the widest entry. So it's important to think about what's in the column, but you can always drag the column width or double click to make it the width you want. If we delete telecommunications, we've now made column B best fit. We drag the others to be the same, so if you want all the columns to be best fit, we can drag across all of these. If you double click any of the boundaries, each column will be aligned based on what's in each column. If one of the numbers increases, maybe one entry gets corrected and it should actually be 1050. When I press enter, the column gets wider. The pound sign appeared briefly, but then it automatically adjusted itself, so column G is wider. This isn't so important in row heights, but you do have some control over it. Maybe you want some space between the entries in this worksheet. We could drag across these rows here and drag the lower boundary down a bit, thus making the rows taller. We can click in the upper left hand corner to readjust all the rows simultaneously and do the same for columns. So click in the upper left hand corner, and if we double click any of the row boundaries, we can automatically adjust all the row heights to a best fit. Now, if you have a large amount of data and want them printed out double spaced, there's no need to insert rows. You could just select the whole worksheet and make any row twice as tall just by dragging one of these. So there's different ways of adjusting row heights and column widths. Many of these changes are automatic as you change data. Now, to adjust all the column widths in this worksheet, you could click in the upper left hand corner and double click any boundary. However, it appears column A is much wider, so you may have to manually adjust column A's width until you learn how to merge data. So that's another technique for adjusting the column width. If you change the font size and use a larger font size, you'll see the row height grows automatically.